Okay, we're all set. Here we go. Welcome to Takaro, the podcast where we break down the news of today for you. I am Kiran.
And I am Deepkanya. And today we're going to talk about a country that's not very far from here, from India. We're going to talk about Afghanistan and the Taliban.
It's a very interesting topic, I would say, because Afghanistan is fairly close to India, like you mentioned. It's in what is called Central Asia, and if you don't know where Afghanistan is, take out your globe, take out a map, go to right at the top of India where you'd find Jammu and Kashmir, and then go a little to the left, and you will actually see Afghanistan over there. So we're fairly close.
Yeah, very, very close. In fact, did you know long ago, and I'm talking about, say, 130 years ago, the British Indian Empire. Now, remember, the British Indian Empire was not what India is today, it was much, much bigger. And Afghanistan actually shared a border, which was called the Durand Line. Now, this line still exists today, but it is the border between Afghanistan and another country. Do you want to guess which that one is?
I think it should be Pakistan.
You are correct because Pakistan is
Woohoo.
that country between Afghanistan and India right now.
And Afghanistan has been, troubled for quite a few years. There
Yeah.
have been a lot of issues. I think many countries have tried to get involved, but it's still struggling, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of fighting in that country between different groups of people, and they all basically want to, shape the country according to their own beliefs. And it's made life really, really hard for regular folk in Afghanistan.
And the Afghan countryside is extremely beautiful. Beautiful country. It has mountains, has snow, has deserts, green valleys. But it's also now become, unfortunately, one of the most dangerous places in the world.
Yeah, this war has really destroyed that Afghan landscape. The land is actually riddled with a lot of landmines. I have read stories about how so many, kids and people who actually walk around the countryside taking their animals out to graze, they get hurt really badly, and some even lose their lives because of all these landmines that are hidden in these lands.
And I'm sure many of you may have already heard about the Taliban. They're a group that came together and took control of the country. And many countries started opposing the Taliban because they were labeled terrorists,
Yeah.
and countries like the US started helping the Afghan government to try and overthrow the Taliban from Afghanistan.
Yeah, to stop them from taking all the power away. And but one interesting thing I do want to point out actually is, did you know that Taliban, the word, comes from the Arabic word talib, which actually
Oh,
means
wow.
students. Yeah, so talib means
Okay.
student. And basically this was a group of students that came together long ago, but unfortunately they are not at all behaving like people who love learning, who love education. This group just uses very, very violent means to make people do what they want.
And that's why a lot of the other governments were trying to help the Afghan government to set itself up, get back on its feet, fight the Taliban, and take over in a more democratic manner. But then, very recently in 2021, the US and all the other countries, the NATO, decided to stop helping the Afghan government
Mm.
and, just left the country.
In fact, this was very, very sudden. And they said that they felt confident that the government, Afghan government, is now capable of running their own country. And they said that their job here was done. But that's not how it quite worked out, did it?
No, and when they left, the Taliban came in and quickly took over again, pretty much overnight.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching this on the news. It was very scary and disheartening, in fact, to see, because now the Taliban is well and truly in power in Afghanistan, and they have brought in some really, really strict rules specifically for women and girls in their country. They just released a 114-page manifesto, which is a manifesto is basically just a document which lists out all your policies, your rules, and what you want to do and how you want to run the country. That manifesto has a whole list of things that girls and women can and cannot do. Now, Afghanistan has become the only country in the world that prevents girls from going to school, from attending school after 6th standard.
That is so sad. In fact, that means no one, if you're a girl, no girl can study beyond the 6th grade. Just imagine, right? How terrible it must be, and how lonely it must be as a girl in the country as well, right? And you can't work, you can't access places like parks and gyms and, hair salons. You can't travel without a male along with you. And in fact, there are just so many restrictions when it comes to being a girl, a woman, and they're forced to get married at a very, very young age. They basically have no rights, and they can't speak up, even if they're being treated badly.
Yeah.
Now that's terrible
Yeah.
for any woman or any girl to endure.
If you look it up and you look up pictures of Afghanistan and the women in Afghanistan, you'll find that they are always expected to be covered from head to toe in these full hijabs, which covers everything, their entire face as well, and they are not allowed to be seen in public at all. So yeah, it is extremely hard. And the latest thing that's actually come out in this manifesto, Kiran, is even the sound of a woman's voice outside of her home has been banned.
So she can't speak
She
outside
cannot be heard.
her house.
No.
Oh, that's terrible. In fact, a lot of women and girls who have managed to escape from Afghanistan, they're trying very hard to talk about this, letting people know what's actually happening, right, in their country. And it's so tough. They're talking to governments, they're talking to NGOs, humanitarian agencies, which are basically organizations that work to help people in other countries. They're trying to do whatever they can to stop the Taliban from treating women so badly. Even the Olympics, in fact, saw people trying to draw attention to what is happening in Afghanistan.
Quick quiz time again. Do you know how many Afghan women participated in the Paris Olympics this year? I'm going to give you options. Option A is 1, option B is 3, option C 4, option D none.
Okay. I think the answer is 3, but the Taliban, of course, refused to accept or acknowledge any woman as an Afghan athlete.
That's right, because ultimately, according to their rules, women are not allowed to be seen outside, to be seen wearing clothes that is not fully covering their whole body, or to even play sports, right? You can't be outside, you can't do things that men do, you can't even play sports. In fact, there was another Afghan athlete. So besides these 3 women who Afghanistan said they're not really representing us, there was another Afghan athlete called Maniza Talash. She participated in the breakdance competition, believe it or not, but she didn't go as Afghanistan. She went as part of the Olympic refugee team. Now, this is a very interesting thing that the Olympics lets you do, which means they have a team of people that basically come from countries that have had to run away because of war, because of violence, because they were afraid for their lives. So they put together a refugee team. So Maniza was part of this, and she actually wore a cape which had "Free Afghan Women" written on it during her performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so strong, right?
Yeah. But unfortunately, she was disqualified because the Olympics again has very strict rules about what an athlete is allowed to say, and you're not allowed to say anything that is remotely political. But I think this woman is really, really strong, because you know what she said, Kiran? She actually said that I've got 1 minute when the whole world is going to be watching me, and I thought, what's more important, my dream, my life, or women in Afghanistan? I didn't go there to win. That doesn't matter to me. Super strong statement from her.
That is so powerful, right? As a statement, as just something that anyone would do. I don't think too many people could be so selfless,
Yeah.
where they're thinking about the greater good rather than themselves, especially on a stage like the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's a really scary and sad situation, but there are people still trying to do things to help, and there are underground schools that are running, helping girls learn more and continue their education, and to help these women and girls do normal things like exercising or reading or even just talking to each other outside the house. I mean, that is such a basic requirement for all of us.
Stuff that we just take for granted, right? Just being able to go out of the
Yeah.
house and meet your friends, they can't do that. So they have to hide and do it. But, it makes me wonder, right? Like, what can we do to actually help them? Can we do something to change this situation?
So some people have been talking about whether it makes sense to cut all funding, all donations, and everything that go to Afghanistan, but I don't think that makes sense
Yeah.
because it'll just make things a lot worse. People will not have access to supplies that they need, medicines, food, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
right? And so the aid workers, the people who are in Afghanistan trying to help all these Afghan people, they're saying, please don't cut these funds coming in. We really desperately need it.
They need these funds so that things don't get worse on the ground. And they're suggesting that governments across the world should keep talking to the Taliban, keep pushing them, keep talking to these leaders about giving women their basic rights back. Because, and it's true for all of us. The minute you stop talking about something, the minute you stop drawing attention to something, that situation or that issue gets completely forgotten by the world. And we don't want to let that happen to the Afghan women and girls, right? We don't want them to fade away.
It is really important we keep talking about it, which is why we're also doing this episode. All over the world, there are women fighting for their rights.
Yeah.
Here in India, there have been protests from women demanding safer spaces for women to live and work. In the US, there are women who are fighting so people cannot tell them what to do with their bodies and whether they should have a baby or not. And in Africa, there are women and girls who are fighting age-old traditions.
Even within homes, within offices, there is a lot going on to ensure that women have equal rights. Offices around the world, women are fighting to get the same pay, the same salary as their colleagues, their male colleagues, to get the same opportunities, to be able to get promoted, to become leaders within their organizations. Even that is a fight that women are fighting today. So there are many, many ways to keep drawing attention to this. Now that you know about this as well, the next thing to remember is this is not happening in isolation in other parts of the world. We have to remember we have to practice this in our daily lives where we treat everyone equally and with respect.
And whether you're a man, woman, girl, boy, or any other gender, I think everyone has an equal right to study, to work, to go out, to talk to others, to be independent, to make the choices they want to make. And I think it's really, really important that each one of us keeps that in mind every time we have a conversation, every time we speak to someone else, every time we think about something. It is very important to think about it from an equal standpoint. I will go so far as saying that if you're a man or a boy, you should actually think about it even more, because that's how you would be able to support women and girls and your classmates and whoever else even more. And I think it's a big responsibility we all have to kind of take on and start moving ahead with.
I absolutely agree. We all work together, then we'll be able to make a bigger difference, right? So I feel like, that's an extremely important point. And with that, we have come to the end of this episode. If you have any ideas or any thoughts, if you have any questions about what you could do, about how we can make this world a safer and more equal place for everyone, you know what to do. Just head on over to our website, which is www.tukarokids.com, and let us know what you think.
I know today was a pretty serious episode with a lot of very important messages. And if you think there are other such topics that we need to talk about or that you would like to bring to the forefront, please send us a message either on our website, like Debbie mentioned, or on Instagram. Get your parents to send us a message and we will do whatever we can to have that message heard. Until next time, Have a safe and happy week. Bye bye.
Bye.